It's a bit muggy. Guys, you remember Bob Lazar on his, he actually found out like UFOs and fucking shit, and he actually drove them in this UFOs and fucking shit. Like years later, I found out all his stories are fucking bullshit. It's like a controlled opposition, like controlled op, like they're releasing to the public to poison the balance, spread false information, like. And Bob Lazar was on one of those dudes. Look, I used to be the guy that believes aliens and shit, but now, bro, it's looking like aliens are looking like Looney Tunes fucking shit, bro. Like, it's so crazy. Like, even Bob Lazar says the fuel for this UFOs were like, the element that has an atomic number. I forgot. I like it was years before I heard the story. Then, now the story is actually like turned into a documentary and shit. Like whenever something's actually turned into a documentary, that's when I start questioning all those claims. And Netflix like boosted it and shit. Is it on Netflix? I don't know. Like I know there's actually a documentary. Like, but it's so crazy. Like let's just look into it and debunk the lies of Bob Lazar. Like I used to be so in on this Bob Lazar story. I used to love aliens and fucking shit. But when I grow up, like I find out all these fucking stories are fucking bullshit. Like it's time to grow up.
Hi, I'm Bob Lazar. During late 1988 and early 89, I worked on the propulsion systems of extraterrestrial vehicles for the United States government. The hardware and technology I was
If
exposed
what he actually says is true, like they would have ended him right away. Like, do you think the United States military is like that much careless to actually run this dude wild? Like,
to should be placed in the proper hands of the scientific community, and it is the right of every person on Earth to know that there is physical evidence which proves that there is life elsewhere and that at least one form of that life has been here. For those of you whose information about me is limited to this video, I'll give you a brief background.
In a world filled with stories of extraterrestrial encounters and government secrecy, one name stands out: Bob Lazar. Known for his bold claims of reverse engineering alien spacecraft at an area known as
yeah, he actually reverse engineered that shit and he actually like flown in one of them. Like, that's crazy. Like,
S4, we delve into the enigmatic tale of Bob Lazar to separate fact from fiction. Join us on a journey as we uncover the truth behind the UFO claims and unravel the mystery surrounding this controversial figure. Bob's main purpose at S4 was to inspect a sphere that was allegedly the main reactor.
yeah, he was on Area 51 and was doing all this shit. Like, and he actually like a couple of times on Joe Rogan itself. Like, this dude gained like superstardom. Like, telling the fact like he reverse engineered an UFO ship.
For the alien craft. It is probably just a coincidence that the engine looked exactly like the third core of the nuclear bomb that was prepared for the third bomb to be dropped on Japan, known as the Demon Core, because on August 21st, 1945, the plutonium core produced a burst of neutron radiation that resulted in physicist Harry Daghlian's death. Chillingly, this was also what had happened to Bob's predecessor. Bob also tells us that he would be debriefed by being placed in a room with about 150 top-secret documents for him to peruse for about half an hour before going to do some tests on the sphere. Among these documents were papers describing aliens. They were small and hairless, much like the archetypal aliens we all know from science fiction movies. Now, before we go any further, I want to point something out. Either Bob is lying about all this, or he is telling the truth. But there is a third option, that the whole thing was a disinformation program, of which Bob was the unwitting subject.
Yep, and they can also be mind controlled. For example, we know they have that technology and fucking shit, and then we release to the public. Like he could be like an op as well. Like he could be in, you know, doing their bidding as well. Like
Around this time, there were several disinformation programs specifically designed to make people believe in UFOs, which I intend to cover at a later date. The programs were run by Air Force intelligence. Lazar stated that he began working at S4 in late 1988 and left the facility by early 1989, so he was only there a few months. During this time, Lazar claimed that he took John Lear, a well-known conspiracy theorist and ufologist, out to the desert near Area 51 to witness the test flights of the purported alien spacecraft. John Lear, a former pilot and son of the famous inventor of the Lear jet, became involved in UFO research and conspiracy theories, promoting the idea of government cover-ups and extraterrestrial activities.
The panic problem, and there's also the problem that, in fact, in Cro-Magnon man, there may have been some tinkering to make us what we are today. And that's been borne out by several researchers. We couldn't have developed exactly the missing link. Something had to happen to get us going. Between 4000 and 8000 BC, we had just been going along and for hundreds of thousand years not doing anything. All of a sudden, bang, we started making pottery, invented the wheel, invented fire, and everything took off. What was the key that did that?
Lear was not only an exceptional individual, but came from a family of exceptional individuals. He became interested in UFOs after both his father and brother swore down that they had seen them. As I said before, his father invented the Lear jet. In several interviews, Bob Lazar claims not to have had an interest in UFOs prior to his work at S4, but birds of a
Like I think he actually claimed he saw an alien, like they were doing some kind of like biopsy or autopsy on a fucking alien. He actually saw that also, like.
feather flocked together, and it seems unlikely to be the case that he could have been friends with Lear and not have had more than a passing interest in the subject. The late 1980s and early 1990s were a very crazy time in the field of UFOs, so much so that it would be almost impossible for a person living today to even begin to imagine. The characters and concepts in this field at the time were totally out there. Going out into the desert with people like Lear was probably not what Bob's employers had in mind when they gave him majestic clearance to work on the propulsion systems of extraterrestrial craft. One of Bob's main assertions is based around element 115, which anyone with more than a passing interest in chemistry and physics would have known, since element 115 and other super heavy elements were predicted by
It's radioactive, I think.
physicists as early as the 1960s, around 4 decades prior to their eventual creation. Scientific theory is often decades in front of the actual means of verification because it takes many years to create the machines that are needed. Given that moscovium, element 115, is known for its extreme instability and transitory nature due to its radioactive properties and short half-life, the idea of the government possessing significant quantities of it raises questions about how they might store a material that only exists for around 1250 nanoseconds. The force of repulsion in the nucleus would be greater than any force that could be brought to bear on the element. If the government were to indeed possess 500 pounds of moscovium, it would naturally face challenges in maintaining such a quantity of a highly unstable element. In a hypothetical scenario where large quantities of moscovium were brought into our universe from an alternate reality or obtained through advanced technological means, the element's inherent instability would likely present significant challenges for containment and preservation. Bob Lazar's claims regarding the government's possession of significant amounts of element 115 must be approached with skepticism and
He claimed it was in like a solid form, like I highly doubt that.
critical analysis, especially considering the known properties and limitations of this element. Superheavy metals have large numbers of protons and neutrons at the core. The forces of attraction are simply overcome by the forces of repulsion, leading to the element to cease to exist shortly after it comes into being. Bob claims that an isotope exists that is stable, but beyond the tipping point, simply adding more neutrons to the nucleus of the atom would have no effect. The element would still be unstable due to its very nature. The idea of storing hundreds of pounds of a transitory and rapidly decaying element like moscovium would defy conventional scientific understanding and practical considerations regarding radioactive elements. Since the 1960s, many articles in popular scientific journals as well as academic papers have been written by people who understand the theory. Bob would have had decades to peruse these articles prior to making the assertion. The fact that element 115 was eventually created was simply a matter of time. It is established with a high degree of certainty that Bob Lazar was employed by Fairchild Industries between 1976 and the 1980s, and later worked as a contract technician at Los Alamos National Labs in late 1982 through Kirk Meyer. Given these verified details, it is logical to conclude that Lazar underwent some level of formal education prior to commencing his employment at Los Alamos Labs. Research conducted by Stanton T. Friedman suggests that Lazar enrolled at Pierce Junior College, focusing primarily on electronics courses. Friedman went as far as interviewing one of Lazar's instructors at the college, a person named Duxler, who verified teaching a student named Robert Lazar in the latter part of the 1970s. I know what it can be like trying to get a degree as an outsider. I myself studied technology, music, programming, and organic chemistry, before finally getting a degree in architecture when I was in my 40s. Taking an unconventional path can be very hard work. Physics for Engineers and Scientists was another course taken at Pierce College by Bob between 1976 and 1978. It also looks like Bob at least began a correspondence course run by UCLA in physics, beginning in 1978. Bob was on probation at the time, and the probation document has a snippet showing the UCLA course. Many people achieve degree status via correspondence. This is not to be frowned upon. However, the time quoted by Bob as being at MIT, he was in fact at Pierce Junior College, where there is evidence of his attendance. Bob's time at Los Alamos was as a technician, not a physicist. Lazar is the proprietor of United Nuclear Scientific
Yeah, he actually lied about his job and shit. Like, it's weird.
Equipment and Supplies, a business specializing in the sale of diverse materials and chemicals. In 2017, Lazar's place of business was subject to a raid by the FBI and local law enforcement. This raid was connected to a murder inquiry, with Lazar not identified as a suspect, investigating whether United Nuclear had distributed thallium to a person linked to a murder case in Michigan, and had nothing to do with any kind of Men in Black type of harassment. Bob claimed to have security clearance 28 levels above Q, but the stringent procedures in place for security clearance would have flagged the fact that Bob's first wife was a murderer and his second wife was a forger. These facts would have enabled Bob to become compromised and possibly blackmailed, since the clearances would have included his spouse. In fact, Bob himself claims that it was the fact that his wife was having an affair that led to his dismissal and consequent harassment. The fact that he took his friends out to the test site for a few beers was also a problem. They would watch the proton beam form plasma clouds and imagine that they were alien spacecraft. Bob Lazar claimed that he worked near Area 51 at a location known as S4. According to Lazar's assertions, S4 was a secret facility located south of Groom Lake in Nevada, where he alleged to have been involved in reverse engineering alien spacecraft and studying advanced extraterrestrial technology. S4 was described as a separate facility from Area 51 where classified research and testing supposedly took place. These claims by Bob Lazar about his work at S4 have been met with skepticism and lack of corroborating evidence from official sources. Bob claims that he had majestic clearance, which is a level of clearance that no other person has ever heard of, but may be a reference to the bogus Majestic 12 documents fabricated by Bill Moore in the early 1980s and circulated by him amongst other UFO enthusiasts. In 1980, Moore wrote the Roswell
Every fucking UFO fucking shit sells as fake fucking shit. UFOs are real, but they're not some kind of alien technology. They're just military technology, like advanced militaristic technology. That's not some kind of alien fucking shit they keep hidden and fucking shit. Like, it's 100% not. Like, the giant fat-headed fucking gray ass fucking headed alien, bro. Like, that shit's whack. If anybody who believe in this giant headed alien fucking shit, like, just stop.
incident with writing partner Charles Berlitz. They also authored the Philadelphia Experiment, 1979. Moore is known to have spread misinformation among the UFO community of the time and to have been on the payroll of some shady group, probably linked to the U.S.
The entire UFO community is on misinformation. Imagine we're, building a community on fucking fake fucking shit, like, and it's just misinformation on top of misinformation.
Air Force. It is this book, written by a known liar, that suggests the retrieval of alien bodies at the site of the so-called Roswell incident. Bob's claim that the so-called craft came from Zeta Reticuli harks back to Betty and Bernie Hill's claims about the star system first made in 1961. The pair of hoaxers had drawn a star map, and a couple of UFO enthusiasts linked it with this distant star system because it was the only one bearing a somewhat vague resemblance. Although Bob had a clearance so secret that no one else has ever heard of it, he himself admits that his work at S4 was very irregular, so maybe once a week or once a fortnight. He also says that he was there for a few months, so that would make the time he spent back engineering alien spacecraft measured in hours, perhaps as little as 24 hours total. Bob doesn't tell us why they chose him above all the top scientists in America, just that he met Teller, the father of the atom bomb, at a talk he once gave. If the US government had the good fortune of a revolutionary propulsion system falling directly into their hands, from a spacecraft landing almost directly within the facility, known to have been the location of the test flights of recovered V-2 rockets that were brought back from Germany after the Second World War. From 1946 to 1952, continuous testing of these rockets came out of White Sands Missile Base. Hundreds, if not thousands of tests were performed. I can guarantee you that if such a propulsion system existed, there would be 24 PhDs working on it 24/7 until it was cracked. not just some guy with a criminal record and a string of bankruptcies taking a look at it every now and then. As for the Roswell story, an incident of a top-secret device landing on a ranch outside of Roswell, it was known as Project Mogul, and listened for Russian ballistic missile launches. There were not alien bodies linked to Roswell until the popular books of the 1980s written on the subject. Moore never let a thing like truth get in the way of a good story. It was just a case of the bigger the lie. These days, we live in a society where instant gratification has been fine-tuned to the max. A microwave culture, phone in hand, posting on TikTok and Instagram, waiting for the hits and like to light up the serotonin in our brains. People who have come into this subject over the last 25 years have no idea of its complexity. They take a hit from recent shows on Netflix and the like, and move on to the next hit. Few newcomers would know that Richard Doty once drove a man to the brink of insanity with his lies and misinformation. The guy is a regular talking head on many of these popular shows to this day. As I said before, Lazar could have been the subject of a complex disinformation program, but his inclusion of such things as element 115 and his attempt to describe a non-existent gravity generator, as well as other factors.
Yes, 100% disinformation aids into poison the well of information. Like, make people like, there's this alien addiction phenomenon, like, to make people believe in aliens. Like, aliens are the most fucking, fake fucking shit ever. Like, there's like a concentrated effort to actually make people believe in aliens. Like, which is weird. Like,
Factors seem to discount
I remember the fucking shit in Mexico where they actually show some fucking alien mummy and fucking shit. I remember that whole fucking shit, right? Bruh, it's just the fakest fucking shit ever. They're trying to push aliens on us so hard, like, I don't know why. It's so weird.
this. He has a history of lying and deceit. But as long as there have been secret programs, there have been cover stories. Ballistic missile programs and high-altitude projects have existed at least since 1946 in the USA. Projects include Project Mogul, Project Stargazer, Project Genetrix, Project Excelsior, Project Manhigh, Project High Dive, and Project Stratolab. These projects are top secret until they aren't. That's when we find out about them. Belief in UFOs has been fostered by security services and the CIA amongst the public for the simple reason that if you are looking elsewhere, you are not looking at what they don't want you to see.
Yep.
Extraterrestrials and UFOs provide the best cover for all of the above projects. The UFO community has been littered with agents of disinformation, whether witting or unwitting.
100%.
And hoaxers who are out to line their own pockets are the worst of these, because they prey on those unable to think critically. They own you, and they make you their bitch. UFOs are big business, books, documentaries, etc.
When you put it that way.
Constantly regurgitate the same old bullshit. In an endless cycle, they all have books to sell and documentaries to watch, and Lazar is no different. He claims not to make money from his story, yet he has written a book to promulgate the lie.
There's actually a documentary, like, we
As he
reacted to that
spins,
next.
He is the subject of a Netflix documentary, with another documentary on the way. He sells hand-drawn pictures of saucers from the above projects and claims they are alien spacecraft. Does anyone really believe that an advanced culture from somewhere in space would travel here in a craft less than the size of your kitchen? There are no seats in these craft because they were designed to be dropped from great heights, so that such things as impact could be tested before using a live subject. The project were designed to listen out for Russian missiles during the Cold War, since the USA has no way of shooting them down. Other projects were for testing the ejector seats of aircraft, atmospheric data, and more recently the re-entry of spacecraft. There are also the black projects related to cutting-edge aircraft still on the design table. Foreign governments constantly scour the airwaves looking for clues to these projects, which is why you just...
So we reacted to the documentary fucking shit, bro. Like, this documentary's fucking wild. Anyway, anytime they're actually trying to sell a documentary, like, that's fucking fake as fucking shit. Like, every time Netflix actually put on some documentary, like, that's fake as fuck. Like, your radar should be automatically inclined to discern that something's actually fake and something's actually, like, they're trying to make us believe.
Decided to spend 2020 making a 3D computer model of Bob's flying saucer, because what else are you gonna do during 2020 of the world's largest UFO-friendly podcast is Bob Lazar. He beat out Donald Trump, who I'm sure is not at all jealous. He's usually very gracious about coming in second. And this Joe Rogan episode, by the way, is what inspired the whole Storm Area 51 meme a few years ago. Also, coincidentally, right after that Joe Rogan interview, a guy named Luigi Venditelli decided to spend 2020 making a 3D computer model of Bob's flying saucer, because what else are you gonna do during 2020 and lockdown, am I right? And that little hobby spiraled into obsessively recreating a full virtual reality simulation of the entire secret underground base from Bob Lazar's memory.
Everything was recreated according to his memory. Spending time
Bro, holy fucking disinformation campaign. Like, what the fuck?
with Bob was not just like 1 or 2 shoots. I mean, this is almost like a 3-year project.
And then the project morphed into a whole documentary film to rehash the same story that Bob's been telling since 1989, but this time with super cool graphics. And his movie was picked up by Amazon, the company that's brought you other quality shows about weird aliens like Melania.
Bruh.
Luigi's documentary is called S4, The Bob Lazar Story, and in it, he sought to do more than just show off his cool UFO graphics. He wanted to tell the story of the real Bob Lazar.
There's something that the whole world missed out on throughout the ages of this story being out, is the fact that we've always focused on what Bob did at S4 or at Area 51, working on flying saucers, but there was a lot left out about who Bob Lazar actually is as a human being.
Scam artist.
I couldn't agree
Grifter.
more. Let's look at who Bob Lazar actually is as a human being, including a few inconvenient facts this movie happened to leave out, shall we? Alright, before we get into this documentary, I just want to say, if you believe in aliens, that's fine. Maybe there are aliens out there somewhere. Who am I to say? Maybe they even
Aliens are fucking fake and gay.
visited Earth at some point, or maybe they will in the future. I don't know. I have no proof one way or the other. But what I can prove, absolutely prove, and so much as anything can be proved in a YouTube video, is that Bob Lazar is not a physicist. He does not have a degree from any university. He made that up. So he definitely did not work as a physicist at Area 51 or S4. So whatever the government is hiding there, and sure, they're probably hiding something, Bob Lazar has never seen it, and I will prove all of that to you as we get through this documentary. So let's get started. After a quick tease of their special effects, the movie opens with Bob and his third wife at their ranch.
Wow, that's a big carrot you got there.
You'll notice the conspicuous lack of SWAT teams or men in black or anyone from the government caring about him whatsoever, and then, unironically, it cuts back to 1989 when Bob first blew the whistle anonymously. If he revealed his true identity, he said,
Yo, I used to be such a Bob Lazar fan. Like, I used to watch documentaries after documentaries about this dude. Then I actually grew up and find out every fucking shit he actually said was fucking, like, fake as fucking fuck. He's trying to, like, propagate his story. And there were inconsistencies in his story, contrary to popular opinion.
the government would definitely come get him.
There's really no way I can prove it without revealing my identity and getting myself into more trouble than I have already.
Well, it couldn't have been too much trouble because a few short months later, he went ahead and revealed his identity in a second interview. And the government did not come to get him. But according to Bob, they did something worse. They deleted his 2 physics degrees from Caltech and MIT, and let me tell you, they did an incredible job, because to this day, those schools have no record of him attending, not a single class roster or a single name or photo in any yearbook. How did the government change all those yearbooks? And not a single professor or student at MIT or Caltech remembers him ever being there. That's a lot of memories to
Maybe you got a remote degree, like, I don't know.
erase, including Bob's, because he also cannot name a single professor or classmate, except for one. When asked this question directly, he named one professor who turns out to work at a community college. And that professor, when contacted, confirmed that Bob did attend community college. At the same time, he claimed to have been at MIT. So, pretty massive government cover-up here. And erasing Bob's diplomas was a really nice touch because he doesn't have those either. Or, a simpler explanation is that Bob didn't actually go to MIT or Caltech and he lied about it. But hey, don't take my word for it. It's time to introduce the other main character in this documentary.
My name is George Knapp. I'm an investigative reporter, former anchor at KLAS TV, and I'm the guy who broke the story about Bob Lazar.
This was the guy behind the camera in those 1989 interviews. If not for him, no one would ever have heard of Bob Lazar. And he stood by his story. And
Another con artist trying to, like, propagate disinformation from another scam artist.
Bob all these years, but even he doesn't believe Bob went to MIT or Caltech.
And I will confide to you this. I don't believe he ever went to those schools. I don't believe Bob Lazar could get a degree from Caltech or MIT. Here's how I rationalize it is Bob would not be the first person to lie about his educational credentials in order to get a good job. As his friend of a long time, I've given him the opportunity. Bob, look, come clean on this. Let me know about, if it's a lie, come clean on it. Get it behind you. And he's never given me that satisfaction of saying, yeah, it's a lie.
So I don't know why they left that clip out of this documentary, but I think it kind of gives you the whole picture of George's relationship with Bob. Whatever journalistic objectivity he had when he first did those interviews back in 1989, he now considers Bob his friend, and he trusts him, even though he knows for a fact that Bob has been lying to his face for decades about being a physicist. He's cool with it. I mean, it's Bob, you know.
It's almost like a cover-up story that they're trying to do damage control on the effect. We're just lying, but we're just best friends. You know, friends keep some, hidden information from each other. Like, it's just normal fucking shit.
They're buddies. So now the documentary gets around to showing what Bob is like as a person. And by that I mean, they talk about his cars.
My wife had a Honda Civic, and as it turned out, just looking at it one day, the hatchback really looked like a jet would fit in there. I just started taking it apart, and to her surprise, there was a jet in there in a short period of time. But she was okay with it.
I'll bet she was, but which wife? 'Cause there were 3. Well, according to the timeline, he's talking here about wife number 1, Carol, and boy did she have a colorful history. Before she met Bob, Carol was in prison for second-degree murder, which she committed as a member of the criminal organization Hell's Angels. After
Here we go.
serving her time,
Criminals helping other scam artists, helping other con artists to propagate misinformation.
she and Bob and a few Hell's Angel buddies of theirs owned and operated a brothel in Las Vegas until it went bankrupt. She was also a drug addict, but Bob stood by her until he cheated on her with another woman. Carol then committed suicide, and Bob, in his grief, immediately married the other woman, Tracy, who became wife number 2. Bob may have had
Bro, this just reeks of cover-up and misinformation. Bruh.
a type here because Tracy was also fresh out of jail on charges of committing forgery. Now, I'm telling you all this not
What's with this? Is it like a kink to, to fuck prisoners and shit? Is it like a kink?
not just because it has
I just like bad bitches, but not the bad in regard to, people who actually went to jail. That's Bob Lazar's kink.
bearing on who Bob is as a human being, but even more importantly, what chance in hell, pardon the pun, does someone like that have of passing a security background check to work on top secret government property, alien technology, no less? Just keep that question in the back of your mind as the story continues. Now, back to the documentary, where George shares the frustrating experience of trying to verify any of Bob's story.
He came forward and spoke to us because he was afraid for his life. So I started trying to check out what's on his resume, where he had worked, where he'd gone to school. And it was an immediate roadblock. MIT and Caltech both said, we don't have any record of him. I thought, well, this series could end right here.
Unfortunately, it didn't, because there was one small kernel of truth to the story.
He said, look, I worked at Los Alamos. I was there. I was working in a scientific capacity on classified programs. That is a fact. And so I started a correspondence with Los Alamos. And they were a pain in the ass right from the beginning. We don't have any record of him ever being there in any capacity. Sorry, but maybe he worked for Kirkmeyer, so I started a correspondence with Kirkmeyer. This is a company that is a headhunter. They hire people. They find people to fill positions, scientific and technical capabilities at places like Los Alamos Lab. You have records on a guy named Robert Lazar, And they said, yes.
So the kernel of truth is that Bob did work at Los Alamos as a temp worker for a subcontractor who, and this is an important detail, doesn't hire physicists. Here's a typical Kirkmeyer job ad from the time period for an electrical technician, which is exactly what Bob Lazar was. As an outsourced technician, he did low-level tasks like fixing their phone system.
Nah. Or putting light bulbs in fucking phone systems to, be a nuclear fucking physicist level physician, like to deconstructing the alien technology. Like that's just that's a sweet pay upgrade if you talk about it. Like if you think about it, like that's a sweet promotion. Like from fixing fucking bulbs and fucking phone systems to re-engineering alien technology, bruh. That's just a dream come true. That's like a story from the mud.
He got in big trouble, according to some sources, for abusing the phone system and using it to run a personal side hustle with taxpayers footing the long-distance charges. That, of course, would have been very embarrassing for the Kirkmeyer's reputation of quality outsourced temp workers, so they gave George the runaround when he asked for Bob's employment records. But George had a different interpretation of their reticence.
Yes, we have them. No, we can't find them. No, we never had them. I knew they were lying to me. That really is a key moment for me because I knew that Los Alamos was lying to me and I knew that Kirkmeyer was lying to me, and it pissed me off.
Yes, it was a cover-up. The government must be hiding something, so it's probably aliens. And George published the story.
He says he was hired to work at an area called S4. At S4, he says, are flying saucers, antimatter reactors, and other working examples of technology that is seemingly beyond human capabilities.
Right, this came from somewhere else. I mean, as bizarre as that is to believe, but I mean, it's there. I saw it. I know what the current state of the art is in physics, and it's...
Or it can also be like he's genuine, but he's being like programmed, mind controlled, and his whole life is orchestrated by, the powers of play in order to make him believe like what he saw was actually real, but it was actually orchestrated. It can also be that case, but I highly doubt that regarding, a lot of fucking history behind, power-ups and lying about his actually fucking job and shit, like. But it can maybe like they found someone who can easily be manipulated, and which seems to be Bob Lazar, and they like orchestrated this whole fucking stunt and the release into the public. Like it can be like a real disinformation campaign, and they made him actually think they actually saw some kind of alien technology, but it's just an ancient civilization militaristic technology, like before ancient civilization has to like authoritarian all those conspiracies. It may be like it's advanced technology like ultramagnetic like gravitation device or something like that, and they like actually told him it's some kind of like alien technology, and they released it to the public. That can also be possibly the case, him releasing to the public, but like I highly doubt that too. Like this dude may be entirely a con artist too.
It can't be done.
The documentary,
a very good con artist. If you actually get documentaries made after you, you're a pretty good con artist.
Now fills a bunch of time with details about how Bob supposedly made his top secret commute to his top secret job. There's a secret jet, a secret bus with blacked out windows, which takes him to a secret bunker with a guarded door and high-tech hand scanner, which opens the door to a secret hallway. And I just want to point out, none of those details Bob gives actually proves he was there. For example, they make a big deal about this hand scanner.
That whole hand scanner thing turns out to be real. How did he know that stuff?
Well, probably from the magazines that he himself said he was reading at the time, like this one, which was published well before Bob first told his story and gives all the technical details of this exact hand scanner Bob claims they used. Anyway, at the end of the secret hallway is the top secret lab where government scientists are taking apart alien technology and trying to figure out how it works. And this is the most unbelievable part of Bob's story, and I don't mean the alien stuff. What's even more implausible than aliens is that Bob in his first week on the job, just gets to see the alien stuff. They just give the new guy top secret
What the
security
fuck?
clearance because, you know, he passed his background check with flying colors, I'm sure. Does he associate with known criminals? Yes. Does he have a history of fraudulent activity? Yes. Did we contact any of his family or friends to vouch for him? No. Can we verify his degrees and credentials? Also no. Okay, sir, you're good to go. So in this top secret lab that Bob definitely had clearance to see is a bunch of tech that I'm sure sounded impressive back in 1989 when Bob made it all up, but really has not aged well. First, you've got a gravity wave generator which powered the ship's warp drive. Gee, I wonder where he got that idea.
Warp drive, Mr. Scott.
No
Aside
way.
from the obvious sci-fi reference, here's why that really didn't age so well. See, back in 1989, we couldn't detect gravity waves, so flying saucers could just buzz around us, I guess, and we'd be none the wiser. But thanks to the work of real scientists, we now have multiple gravity wave observatories around the world that would almost certainly notice a gravity-powered ship flying by, not to mention all of our satellites, telescopes, radar, sonar, heck, the entire space surveillance network that tracks everything orbiting the Earth. If Bob could see this
Yeah, I doubt that too.
thing with his naked eye, there's no way it would get past all of that. The other big detail in his story is the power source. Bob claims the ship was powered by the then theoretical element 115. Well, in some early versions of his story, he said 114, but he settled on 115 now, and that's his story, and he's sticking to it. The only problem is, it's no longer theoretical. Once again, real, actual scientists have caught up with and surpassed Bob's science fiction, and they have created element 115
Yeah, it's in a Hadron Collider, but you know, they say it can only be like for a couple of seconds and shit, but
in their labs. In Bob's story, the element is solid, stable, and produces enormous
yeah, that's
amounts
what he
of
said.
power. Well, the real thing is nothing like that at all. The real element 115 is radioactive, highly unstable, and breaks down in a fraction of a second without producing any power at all. Oops. What's gonna power the flying saucer now, Bob? Luigi, I guess, doesn't care because now it's time to finally show off the whole reason he made this movie. His super cool CGI recreation of the flying saucer, which Bob, as an unqualified temp worker with no security clearance, definitely had access to.
This particular disc appeared to be in excellent condition, and because of its sleek
Bro, this dude's not a whistleblower. This dude's a fucking, you know, con artist or some kind of mind control puppet.
appearance, I nicknamed it the Sport Model.
And that's the big reveal. Bob found out the government had a captured flying saucer that just happens to look exactly like all the old flying saucer movies he watched as a kid. What a crazy coincidence.
The exterior skin of the disc is metal, which is the color of unpolished stainless steel.
Yeah, that's because in those classic sci-fi movies, the wooden models were sprayed with metallic spray paint. That's why they looked like that, so we're just going with that as the real actual story, I guess. And then the government was like, what the hell? Why not let the new guy go inside the spaceship? Sure, we hired him just to work in the lab, but it couldn't hurt to let him poke around and learn all our secrets, right? The inside is a bit of a disappointment. I guess Bob ran out of ideas for what the inside of a flying saucer would look like, so he came up with nothing. And he just went with that. Empty space, a couple of chairs, and some weird writing. And then, for no particular reason, the government decided to show Bob the rest of their alien ship collection. And both of those designs are really original ideas on the part of Bob.
In the hangar adjacent to the Sport Model was another craft that sometimes I refer as the Jello mold or the bunt cake.
It's a what?
It looks like a bunt cake.
What is it? It's a bunt. A bun? Bunt. Bun, bonk, bonk. Bunt.
The other craft looked like a top hat or a straw carnival hat with a large brim on it.
A top hat, why not? It just sounds like Bob got his inspiration from a few objects he saw lying around his house. But okay, sure. And as long as they're showing him everything, Why not give Bob a personal flight demonstration? That'd be icing on the bundt cake.
There's a hole in this cake.
And lots of holes in this story, because if you thought that any of that was just a little improbable, get a load of what happens next.
This technology that you've learned about thus far was brought here by some alien beings from the Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2 star system.
Yeah, apparently they just let him read all the classified reports about the aliens too, because, yeah, that's totally part of his need to know access. Does Bob have any idea how security clearances work?
These beings are from Reticulum 4, which
It's almost like Bob can actually do whatever the fuck he actually wants.
is the fourth planet out from Zeta 2 Reticuli. This is the way star systems were referred to in these reports. They simply designate the name of the star.
Lies of the lies. This is fucking slop after slop, bro. You know, aliens are fucking gay, bro. Like,
And then number the planets from the nearest to the furthest from the star. Our star, the Sun, was designated as Sol, and the Earth was referred to as Sol 3.
That's also, coincidentally, how planets are referred to in Star Trek.
Captain's log, stardate 3715.3. While making a routine exploration of the unexplored Gamma Trianguli 6...
bro, no way all these fucking shits from Star Trek.
These beings said that man was the product of externally corrected evolution. They said that man, as a species, had been genetically altered 65 times.
That's also something that happened in Star Trek. But if I had to guess the exact source, I'd say Bob stole the idea from the book Chariots of the Gods, which makes that exact claim, also without evidence. And then Bob brings in this sci-fi trope because...
Yeah, it's just to promote fucking evolution and fucking shit. It's like a, you know, the idea institutions, you know, promote evolution. We know, like, God created humans and shit. It's trying to remove God from the equation. And trying to, like, bring up this bullshit stories of fucking, like, evolution and shit. Like, we know that ain't fucking true.
Why not?
In the documentation,
We know fucking aliens are freaking gay. Every attempt they're trying to present aliens has been pathetic at this point. You know, the Mexico mummy and shit, like, it's pathetic.
you saw some pictures of some creature, an autopsy of some type.
Yeah, it had to do with a photograph and drawing of a dead creature with chest cut open in a T fashion, the skin peeled back, and what appeared to be one large organ as opposed to a bunch of...
It's just lies and lies. The real image of this where this gray-headed alien comes from Aleister Crowley's vision of some demon and fucking shit. Like, it's an image of a fucking demon and shit. Like, and they run with it as like a, you know, poster child for like what an alien should look like. And it's just lies of lies.
Smaller one.
So that's all the cool stuff Bob got to read about in these top secret reports that he totally had access to as a lab worker. I guess the government just mistook him for the filing cabinet and handed him everything. But, in case all of this sounds too ridiculous, don't worry. That's part of the conspiracy too.
He said, take everything with a grain of salt because they'll, you know, intentionally inject ridiculous things in there. So if anything ever gets out, they know exactly who to track it back to.
Right. If what Bob says sounds like bullshit, it's not his fault. The government intentionally fed him bullshit so they could track it back to him and prosecute him for exposing their secrets. I'm sure the men in black will be coming to pick him up any day now. Also not Bob's fault is the missing evidence. See, he took a piece of element 115 home with him. I guess they just didn't notice he had it in his pocket, and he kept it with him.
Yeah, highly government clearance structure, like highly government secret societies, secret militaristic establishment actually let him get away with a piece of like element 115. Like Air 51, the institution or the militaristic place that has the most advanced security measures, and he just got away with element 115. Come on, bro. Like, at this point, what are we actually trying to portray?
For years, just, I don't know, used it as a paperweight or something. So, he's had physical proof of his story that he could have shown to the world at any time, but he just didn't feel like it. And now, conveniently, he can't find it, so it's gone, and he's pretty sure the government came and stole it secretly, or maybe the cleaners misplaced it. I don't know. Anyway, he can't find it.
You went public in the 1980s, and even in the interview with George, you said you had a piece of element 115. You did say you had a piece back then, and then you never said it again.
Yeah.
but you stopped saying it because it was just like,
Yeah, cause he changed his fucking story.
Yeah, I stopped saying it because, yeah.
And then the documentary turns its attention to the one and only piece of recorded evidence for any of this. A grainy VHS tape Bob and his buddies shot from a hill overlooking Groom Lake, where they saw a little ball of light.
Yeah, we went out there 2 or 3 times. So we'd go out there in the dark.
No, what? Did you see that move it did? No, I didn't. It was because I kept doing. Wow, how bright it's getting. Look at it now.
And this is where the story actually starts to all make sense. Not Bob's fantasy version, of course, but the real story. See, as a low-level tech worker at Groom Lake, Bob didn't get to read any top-secret reports. He didn't get to see any spaceships, but he did manage to find out their test schedule. And he knew that on several upcoming Wednesday nights, they'd be conducting above-ground tests of whatever they were testing there. Some people say it was flares, some people say it was a new type of plane. One group of scientists is convinced it was a ball of plasma, and they've done some impressive-looking math to prove it. Checking their work is kind of above my pay grade, but whatever it was, I'll bet you anything it wasn't this. Because this thing, first of all, doesn't have any lights on it. And even if it did, why would they turn on the lights if they're trying to keep it a
Bro, there is advanced militaristic technology they have, like, without a doubt, the United States military had it, but it's not like it's come from outer space. It is like probably like maybe ancient civilization technology. But like people should get out the outer space aliens fucking shit out of their fucking head, because all those things never were actually true in the first place.
secret? Bob gives a half-assed explanation for this that really makes no sense if you think about it.
Bob said there's a static charge that dances around on the skin of the disc.
There's a high DC voltage on it.
Right, high voltage makes things glow. That's why high voltage power lines all look like this. The other really important detail about these little nighttime excursions with the video camera is that one of those buddies was conspiracy theorist John Lear.
Good evening, this is John Lear. We're standing just about 8 miles due east of Groom Lake, Nevada, the super government secret test site.
John already believed in flying saucers and government cover-ups and alien autopsies, captured UFOs.
John Lear had Area 51 stories and that sort of thing. He was an unusual guy, but a good friend and had some, strange beliefs.
So if you're friends with someone like that, what makes a better story? Hey John, come see the lights made by our proton accelerator or whatever. Or, hey John, come see a real flying saucer that proves everything you believe is true. So, whether it was to...
How convenient. Like, I don't believe in coincidence at all, bro. How so convenient. That guy's actually your friend.
To impress John or to prank him or just because he couldn't help himself, Bob got John and a few other buddies to drive up to an overlook where they could see the light show and told them it was a secret UFO project that he knew all about, which I'm sure was a lot of fun for him until they got busted.
We got caught out there. We got stopped initially by the guards that are out in that area.
And here's where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. Bob could have been in big trouble for sharing true details about military tests, but he hadn't. There's no law against making up bullshit about UFOs that don't exist, so they let him go. Bob's wild UFO story literally saved his ass. I mean, he still lost his job, but he didn't get prosecuted for espionage. And because that story saved his ass, and because I guess it sounded cool too, he stuck with it. And the rest is history. And here we are, almost 40 years later, still talking about the boy who cried alien. And this really is the final nail in the coffin of Bob's story. Because if the government really did have flying saucer technology, where is it? You're telling me that they haven't found a single use for it in the last 40 years? Haven't used it to make hovercraft or anything?
Yeah, that's a stupid reasoning. Like, the government can accumulate technology to try to fake an alien invasion. About Project Bluebeam fucking shit. They can use that to fake an alien invasion. They can use that for many different nefarious purposes. They'll never release that to the public. I 100% believe they have some kind of technology like that, but Bob Lazar as a person, I think he's a mind control puppet, or he's a con artist. on a much higher level.
Also telling me that it's so secret, not a single other person has come forward in all this time to corroborate Bob's story, even though it was
Yeah, that is false reasoning. Like,
incredibly easy for him to get his own personal tour of a spaceship and read all the classified documents about the aliens, and there were no consequences at all for going public with that information, but no one else has done it? In all this time? Super easy, no consequences, millions of UFO believers would love to do it, but no one has? Okay, fine, I'll do it. All I gotta do is just lie and say I've got a physics degrees, the government will hire me, show me all their secret plans, and send me home with a souvenir of Element 115. No problem. I'll see you back here in a few weeks with full disclosure.
yeah, it's just this dude's like Bob Lazar is like a con artist, and like aliens are fucking faking gay, bro. Like at this point, like it's so obvious. They're trying to push this shit out on throat, and he has a documentary that even like adds more fuel to the fire that aliens are fucking faking gay. Like it's just, and people eat that shit up. Like Bob Lazar and his fucking story, bro. It's so obvious. His story is so convenient. Like certain plot points in his story is so convenient at this point. Like guys actually think it through, and you can actually you don't have to be that smart to actually spot a con artist. You can actually like use your discern mind to actually figure it out. So that's about it, bro. So see you guys. Have a nice day.